Hey everyone, nice to meet you all. My name is Gus Fathis. I'm the founder and CEO of Cogito, and I've been involved in AI since the mid 90s. I was part of the team that did Deep Blue versus Kasparov, and I've been using AI in one form or another since the early days. And we are truly living in exceptional times. And I believe that over the next 2 years, you're going to see more change than you ever thought possible, thanks to the breakthroughs that have recently been made in AI. As Anthony mentioned, we did a fantastic seminar on OpenClaw, Claude Bot, and all that stuff. And I'm super excited to follow it up with one of my favorite tools, which is Claude Cowork. So I put together a presentation for us to walk through, and we'll do a little live walkthrough of some stuff that we've put together recently, leveraging Claude Cowork. So the tool we're going to talk about today is Claude Cowork. Every executive should be of any size company, from the smallest one-person company to the largest enterprise out there, should have a Claude Cowork subscription. Claude Cowork is a superpower, and it is brought to you by a company called Anthropic, which you'll hear more and more about. I want to start off with a quote from one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Steve Jobs. I'm sure you all know him. Way back in the 1980s, when after he founded Apple Computer, he made this statement, and it's been true ever since then. A computer is the most remarkable tool we've ever come up with, and it really is the equivalent of a bicycle for our minds. Before a bicycle, we could only walk so far, and only at a certain limited speed. Once we had bicycles, we could travel a lot further, and we could travel further much faster as well. And at the end of the journey, we were a lot less tired, and there was a lot less wear on our bodies, and they were incredible tools. Bicycles, though, required us to engage with every piece of the machine. You had your hands on the brakes, your feet are pedaling, you're trying to keep it balanced. It is such an apt metaphor for what computers were prior to the introduction of generative AI. What the new tools, and specifically agents, do is they allow us to go from having bicycles for the mind to really having jet fighters of the mind. They don't just assist us, they actually take control, they plan, they act, they use tools, they verify their work, they deliver final output much faster than any human could, and they produce consistently great output on sort of all the various aspects of producing the work. And the speed of delivery is amazing. And the fact that you can multitask while doing it is amazing as well. And this is why I say every executive should have Claude Cowork subscription, and they should be using it heavily. So just a brief outline of what the agenda is. We're going to talk a little bit about what Cowork is, some of the capabilities of it, how it works, what are some of the things under the hood to think about. Then I want to go through a live demo, and I'm going to use a company we recently launched, so you can see the actual output, not in simplified demo form, but in the very complex, like real working output. And then we could talk about power tips and talk a little bit about any questions anybody might have. And as always, Anthony, please keep me on track in ask any questions you might have.
All right. So thank you very much. And I think what was really important was, agentic AI for the executive. So it's not just for the geeks, not just for your tech team, it's for you. And so, the cynic in me could say, I scheduled this entire webinar just so I could learn Claude Cowork. All right, take it away, Gus.
Great. So the 2026 has been proclaimed the year of the agent since 2025, and it really is turning into the year of the agent. So we had an explosion of press and activity around a product called OpenClaw. It was actually called ClaudeBot, but then they got sued and changed the name to OpenClaw, starting back in November by an engineer named Peter Steinberger. He created a part-time, an individual project that he was working on, and he released it, and it was incredibly powerful. It went viral, and it was the most stars in GitHub, which is a place where engineers go to share code. And very, very intriguing project, great ideas, all that stuff, and it got a lot of press throughout the world. There was a point there where you couldn't go 5 minutes without hearing about ClaudeBot or OpenClaw or Moltbot or Moltbook or whatever other manifestation in the news for about 2-3 weeks. Problem with it, and we mentioned it when we did our seminar, Anthony, is that it really is a tool that's built for developers. It's highly powerful, highly insecure, and it's really, you got to be a developer. You got to understand engineering. Otherwise, it's very easy to get caught in trouble. There are some variations of this, Kimmy Claw and some others that tried to make it easier, but really is still not ready for prime time. Interestingly enough, Peter Steinberger, OpenClaw, was acquired by OpenAI, that makes ChatGPT, for, the rumor is, over $1 billion, and that they are working on turning this into a product that ordinary humans can use. So stay tuned. In 6 months, we might have something that that we can use. Right now, though, Claude Cowork delivers on that promise, and it delivers on it in a much more secure and safe fashion than OpenClaw. And you could think of Claude Cowork as OpenClaw for the rest of us. And it's not just for, and that's true even for developers that don't want to spend days configuring OpenClaw and constantly dealing with it breaking and all that stuff. So, so in 2025, we all got familiar with chatbots, and you would go to the chat interface and you would say, tell me, give me the content for a presentation, and the chatbot would respond with the content, and you would take that content and you would copy and paste it from the chatbot interface into PowerPoint or into Google Slides. And so you were, I like to think of it as, you were the middleware between the AI and the actual work. Your whole job was to copy paste, maybe providing some editorial there as well. But most of the time you were copying and pasting back and forth and trying to rejigger the outputs. So Cowork eliminates this copy paste task. And it does that by working directly with files and tools on your computer, not in the cloud somewhere. And it develops a memory of who you are, what your work style is, what's important to you, and it uses all that information. So over time, it does a better and better job of delivering output that meets your needs. And that's how it turns you from an executive into really a super executive. So let's talk about what it is. A chatbot answers questions. Output generally stays in chat. There's no tool access. There is in certain cases, but somewhat limited. Um, it starts from zero every session, and you do a lot of that work. What Claude Cowork and agents are in general are autonomous AI that are able to complete tasks from beginning to end. And they're able to output real files, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Google Slides, um, uh, you know, um, Google Sheets, whatever tool you might be using. It's also able to connect to Slack and your calendar, can connect to your email. It can connect to Notion. It can connect to Obsidian if you use those tools. Even more interestingly, if you're in a company, it can connect to your ERP. It can connect to your CRM and really help accelerate your interaction with those systems. It remembers your preferences and it does the work. And your job is to review the work and really provide it guidance and you have editorial control. And the more you let it do its job and play the role of editor, the more value you're going to get out of Claude Cowork. So we sort of touched on this. What can Cowork do? Create documents. It can connect to all your tools. It can work with files, browse the web for you. It can do multi-step tasks from beginning to end. And it can self-improve over time and remember what's important. So how does it do this? Well, it does this through a number of things that are under the hood. We'll briefly touch on some of these things. So the first thing that you should understand is, how does Cowork think and how does it get things done? Really, this is what we call the agentic loop. So you will give it a request, create a marketing document for Q2, for example. And then what Claude Cowork will do, it will load up memory, it will load up its skills, it'll load up your request. It will then load up the different tools it has available, okay? And it will send that to the brain. In this case, the brain is Claude, and the particular model you might be using is, for example, Opus 4.6. There's rumors that Opus 4.7 is going to be released today. In a month from now, you'll probably be sending the requests to Mythos, and I'm sure you've heard about Mythos. It's been in the news nonstop. And you send all that information to the brain, and you say to the brain, I want you to create a Q2 marketing document. Here is the memories I have about this person. Here's the skills you have access to. Here's the various tools you can use. And then what the brain does is it comes up with a plan on how to take care of that. And then it starts putting those things together, and it starts leveraging those tools. It says, okay, I have access to your, for example, your QuickBooks. So I'm going to go off to QuickBooks. I'm going to get your revenue numbers. I have access to your Meta ads account. So I'm going to go to Meta and grab your marketing spend and the results from marketing spend. And it's gonna look at the memory and say, oh, your Q2 marketing plan, your marketing plans are always PowerPoints. So we're going to build a PowerPoint. It's going to grab the PowerPoint skill, and it's going to take that and it's going to create a PowerPoint slide deck that is leveraging your brand and your brand voice and tone, and it's going to build that PowerPoint. And then after it's done building it, it's going to launch another agent, and that agent's going to review the work, and say, okay, this slide looks a little messed up, clean it up like this. I don't like the voice on this slide, I'm going to change it like that. Then at the end, it produces that final PowerPoint on your hard disk, and it says, here you go. And then at that point, your job is to go through that slide deck and say, I love slide 2. I don't like slide 3. Change it in this way. Add another slide for this, and you have that dialogue, and it makes those changes, and then it produces that final output for you. It's fantastic. It works really well, and that's the way it thinks. And uh, there's a new feature they just released called Dispatch that allows you to actually control it from your phone as well. So you can actually interact with it while you're on the go. So so that's the overall agentic loop. There's a word you're going to constantly hear, and that word is context. The real question is, what is context? And we talk about blowing out context, or it loses context. What does that mean? Well, you remember I said that when you feed in uh, uh, into the LLM, you feed in your request, hey, create a Q2 marketing plan, and here are the memories associated with this particular individual, and here are the tools you can use. All of that stuff is what we call context. And these brains have a limited amount of context that they can take. It's a lot. It's gotten to be a lot now. It's about what's called 1 million tokens for Opus 4.6, and so that's wonderful because now you can cram a lot. You can give it a lot, and it can do a great job of it. Without context, what you get is really generic results that aren't customized to you, and that you're not going to like. With context, with agents that have context and that use the context to include information about you, you get incredible results that are customized to who you are, to your project, your preferred formats, and your preferred tools. So that's what context is.
All right. So, Gus, I'm going to hop in with a few questions. So, a few
Sure.
excellent questions in the chat. So, firstly, YouTube is filled up with OpenClaw will change my life and build a unicorn company on the side. Can Claude Cowork do pretty much everything that OpenClaw can do?
It can do most things. There are certain things that it cannot do. It has certain limitations.
Okay, so they put the brakes on some things so it doesn't go crazy, but you can accomplish, I mean, if you were not really game to use OpenClaw, then Claude Code is Claude Code. I keep
Yes,
saying Claude Code, but Claude Cowork is the one to use instead.
yeah, and I would say a
Okay.
lot of those are hype. They're very much hype, and many of those people, when you look at their businesses, they're YouTubers that are basically generating content ideas and have a video generation pipeline, and they're saying that's the thing. Real businesses operate slightly different, and I've
Okay.
yet to see OpenClaw actually run a real business without significant hands-on engineering like effort.
Okay. So the next thing is Claude Cowork runs in the cloud, whereas OpenClaw ran on your local computer. Is that correct? And if so, does the fact it runs in the cloud give it like way more resource than your computer had? There's bigger NVIDIA cards with more RAM and so on. Does this give you more?
It's a little bit more nuanced than that. So you have the brain, which is the LLM, that's the underlying AI component, and that runs in the cloud. So Claude Cowork uses Anthropic's LLMs, and they always run in the cloud, and they are the best. Claude Opus 4647 is probably one of the best in the world. And then you have a component that runs on your computer which is the agent harness. Okay. OpenClaw is the same thing. When you install OpenClaw, you select the brain. The brain you select can be in the cloud, and you can select. You used to be able to select Claude Opus 4.6, then Anthropic shut it down. But you can select GLM 5.1 or Kimi K2.5, which are very good models, or OpenAI's ChatGPT models, and those are great models. And then but the other thing you can do with OpenClaw is you can run models locally as well if you have a powerful enough PC.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, thank you. Now, is there any advantage of Mac versus PC in terms of the clients that they've got and the integrations that they've got?
so for OpenClaw, running OpenClaw on a Windows computer is engineeringly more complex than running it on a Mac. It was developed on a Mac. Um, the other place where OpenClaw is typically run is on Linux computers. So again, if you're an engineer and you understand those things, you'll understand how to tackle them. Mere mortals, I strongly suggest you not install OpenClaw on your Mac. You'll
Okay.
be able
So
to do it, but it's very dangerous.
Okay, so now with Claude Cowork, do you still have a desktop client to install? And is there any reason to favor a Mac or PC, or it's just equally good on both?
Equally good on both. And it doesn't, you install Claude Desktop, and we'll go through that. I'll show Claude Desktop and explain what the different components are. But you'll install an application called Claude Desktop, and then what you'll want to do is you'll want to also install on your phone the mobile Claude as well.
Okay, so last question from me for now, which is this context window that you keep reading, or I keep reading about different sizes. What size do you need for different tasks, and is it satisfactory today, or are we waiting for another few doublings?
Um, I think what so it has become a metric that the AI providers quote like it is the panacea. I think we've reached the point where now context is so large that much further expansion of the context is like, okay, so what? The big challenge is in the AI world is what's the best way to create local memory? And today, what we try and do is we try and use context as local memories, like as a place to store local memory. But that's not really ideal. We need real memory, real local memory. And that's a challenge in LLMs in general that hasn't yet been solved.
All right, I'll hand back to you. I'm going to keep one big, massive question in for later, which is there's often a discussion about which things in the future of AI will run on your local computer so you don't give all your data to the big evil AI companies, and which things run on the cloud. I've got some thoughts on it, but we're going to keep that as an interesting point at the end of the presentation. Keep going.
Excellent. Sounds great. So every project has a Claude MD. In Cowork, when you start Cowork, you can create a project, and then when you create a project, you can say, Claude, interview me about the project, and it will ask you a couple questions, and then from there, it will create in that project, it'll create a file called Claude MD. And in that file will be some general information that's important about this project that Claude should always remember in order to produce better results. So typically, when you start a new project, you should have Claude. You should tell Claude, "Hey, interview me and create a Claude MD," and it will do that, and it'll do a great job for you. Okay, now there's something interesting about this MD. What is that MD? And MD is, well, you know what? Hold that thought. Let's just talk about MCPs first, and we'll come back to what MD files are. So MCPs are really fascinating. These are pieces of software, servers, if you will, that you can install that give Claude Cowork and AI in general access to tools, to very sophisticated tools. So, for example, if you want to take Cowork and you want to connect it to Slack, you can use an MCP server to do that. If you want it connected to your calendar, you can use, again, an MCP tool to connect Claude Cowork to your calendar. You can connect it to your email. You can connect it to Notion. There are many prepackaged MCP servers for all the major software. And I urge you to be thoughtful about which MCPs you use. Make sure it's tools that you actually use, and then leverage them as much as possible, because it's absolutely incredible how it accelerates your capabilities. And MCP is an open standard, and you can do things like connect it to your financial systems. We've created MCP servers that connect to SAP for companies that are worth billions of dollars, and literally their executives sit in Claude Cowork and can interrogate and manipulate SAP from Claude Cowork. This is a task that in previous generations you would pay hundreds of dollars an hour to specialized ERP consultants to write the scripts to make that happen. And with Claude Cowork and an MCP, it happens out of the box. It's magical how well it works.
So let me hop in with MCP servers, because I think this is hugely exciting. And I think for every company, if you've got a dev team, you could look to build an MCP server for your platform. So the MCP is like an interface that tells the rest of the world what are the functions and APIs and things that the AI can access. So we're doing this now. We've done a hack sprint at Seed Legals to build an MCP interface so that anyone, you can connect your Slack to do this, so that when someone does this, it will go off and create an employment contract and then send it to the person to sign. So we're hoping that by exposing this interface, people can create all sorts of amazing things that we couldn't possibly imagine using our platform. And I think that's going to be really interesting, because if it takes our team a couple of weeks to do this MCP interface, anyone can do it in a similar amount of time. And it's going to be the new version of APIs, but APIs were a bit geeky. The tech effort to connect with APIs was complicated, but this seems dramatically easier. So I'm hoping that Gus will spin up some crazy thing that connects to our platform thanks to this in a few voice-coded messages on Claude Cowork. All right, back to you, Gus.
That's a great thing. It's a great thing that you said. APIs really unlocked a huge amount of third-party innovation for many different platforms. And you just saw so much innovation. But the problem was you had to be a developer to take advantage of it. With MCPs, now anybody can innovate on top of your platform, and that's incredibly exciting. So I'll be watching your MCP carefully, and I'm really super excited to see what great things people do with it. So there's another interesting capability that Claude Cowork has, which is called a skill. And basically, skills are instructions that teach Claude how to produce or how to do some task. A skill might be telling it how to create presentations. It could be how to write a contract. It could be how to create an Excel spreadsheet with a business model. Those are skills. And these skills are available, curated from Anthropic as well as from third parties, and they're very, very easy to create. And I'll show you an example of that. Um, you should absolutely, from day one, get familiar with skills. They're incredibly useful and helpful. And you can tell Cowork, create a skill to produce PowerPoint that always looks like this. And it will create that skill, and you'll always have that skill available for you in any future use of Claude Cowork. So, so we'll take a detour back to Markdown because skills are nothing more than Markdown. So what is this thing Markdown? I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but Markdown is a simple text format, and it's not a programming language. It's not a programming format. It's a human readable file. You use English to interact with it. And I urge everyone to learn the basics of Markdown. Markdown is the lingua franca of the AI world. And again, it's just a simple basic text file, and it has certain properties. So what you see here is a pound or a hash sign. That means this is a heading. That's all that means. And you have two hash signs here, and that means this is a subheading. That's all that means. Very simple. And you have a dash here, and that a dash means you have a list of a list of things. And you have star, star, John, star, star. That means John is bold. That's all that means. And this is just regular text. And that's all Markdown is. And Markdown is used widely in AI. And when you create a skill file, and in fact, the Claude MD itself are all Markdown files. That's all they are. Here is a skill file. It's a very simple skill file on how to create a weekly status report. And you'll see it's just exactly like that. You've got a heading, a subhead, and the skill is use this skill whenever you're asked to create a weekly status report. That's all you need to write. And Claude Cowork will automatically pick that up and use it every time you say create the weekly status report. And you say, I want these, this is what the structure is, and these are the rules. Fairly simple. And you don't need to worry about creating these. You could tell Claude, create a weekly status report skill. Here is the information about it. Create the file. Claude will create the Markdown file for you, and you could take a look at it and modify it if you like, and it will make sure to use it. Hopefully that makes sense. And Anthony, you're going to go off and write your first skill today, I hope.
I'm most amused because in the days, years, decades ago, before word processors, people wrote with Markdown because you couldn't just select text and go bold and underline. So you tell the computer this star means bold and so on. And then like word processors got invented, and now we're at the dawn of AI. And what are we doing? We've gone back 20 years to type underscore underscore if we wanted to be, italic or something. It's kind of crazy. It's like instead of having these hashes, just like mark it in bold. But anyway, one day someone will make a word processor that means you don't need to put a mark down and you can just put bold.
Those actually exist.
Yeah.
They exist already. Macdown 3000 is one that's free. Telescopo is another. So they already exist, and they do all that if you want that. Um, so just talking a little bit more about skills, as I mentioned, there are hundreds and hundreds of skills available at Anthropic. Anthropic created them, and they have skills for all the Microsoft Office file formats. They have skills for finance. They have hundreds of skills for marketing, hundreds of skills for design, legal, for product management, data analysis. They even have a skill that helps you create skills. So go to Anthropic, leverage your skill library. It is fantastic. There's also third parties out there. There is Claude Hub, a Skill Hub. You'll find many of them. And you can go there and you can download third-party skills that other people have created. I would caution you, though, to make sure you open up those skills and read them, because you don't know if somebody may have done something nefarious inside a skill. So with Anthropic, you're pretty safe, but with the plugin marketplaces, really, I think it's best to be safe. If you find anything there, you should definitely read it before you use it. And then, of course, build your own. Don't be scared about them. Build them. Claude can help you build them. In fact, that's, Claude loves building skills. So just tell it to build the skill and it'll do it, and go from there. Great. So we mentioned a little bit about memory and preferences, and Claude has a very extensive memory mechanism where it keeps information that you've told it about yourself, or that it discovered about itself, about you, and about how you like to work, and it keeps that in its various memory files, and it uses this information whenever you ask it to do something. And we'll take a look at the memory files that Claude has on me, so you can actually see what this looks like and what kinds of things it remembers. So just putting it all together, Claude Cowork brings together these various aspects of AI. It brings an LLM. It brings the frontier leading best LLM, along with a way of giving it instructions, giving it memory, providing it skills, giving it access to tools, and giving it access to your local file system. And then a dispatch engine that it uses in order to execute your requests and get real work done. That is what Claude Cowork is. That's really the heart of what agents are. And that is what 2026 is all about. You're going to continue to see agents take over the technology landscape. And I urge you to use this to help improve the work you do and to really supercharge your capabilities. So I thought we'd take a moment, take a look at some of the actual Claude Cowork system, and you'll all learn a lot more about me. Probably more than you ever wanted to know. But so when you first launch, this is what the Claude desktop looks like, and you can download this directly from Anthropic's website. And they're constantly changing this. So before, it had the selections here for chat versus Cowork versus code. But now they've just recently moved them to over here. So this is the traditional chat interface that I'm sure you're all familiar with. So, this is a chat where we're talking about building deploy pipelines and so on. And that's the chat interface. This right here is the Cowork interface. It's kind of subtle, the check marks and stuff. And so this is Cowork. And then this here is Claude Code. For those of you that don't know, Anthropic also is the creator of Claude Code. Claude Code is able to build extremely complex systems very quickly, and basically the prediction is decimating the programming job market. It's already impacted programming jobs because Claude Code is probably the best programmer money can buy. It is so good at what it does. But we won't be talking about Claude Code today. We'll stick to Cowork. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the settings here. So starting off up top, here is the profile Claude builds on you, right? Claude, in this general, here you want to put what Claude should know about you. So I'm a technical builder CEO. I like direct and precise answers. I want complexity. I want to compress complexity. I don't want things spoon fed. And that's where you can tell Claude how you want it to interact with you. Let's go to privacy. So this is the privacy. Now, based on the terms of use of Claude, you will see I let Claude do everything except send information back to the mothership. So right here, I turned off allowing Anthropic to use my chats or coding sessions to improve their models. So I turned that off. And I urge you to turn it off if you're doing anything sensitive. And Anthropic says they'll respect this setting. So this is your billing interface, fairly straightforward. Claude has a number of different plans, everywhere from $20 a month, which is where everyone should start. That's the most basic plan, to a whole lot more. I do a lot of work with writing code in Claude Code, so I have the higher level plan. Usage shows you how much you've used it, how much use you have left, all that stuff. Capabilities is where you want to turn on memory here so that it really starts customizing what it does. It starts remembering you and customizes things. And if you've been a big ChatGPT user, or you've used Gemini, you can go to ChatGPT or Gemini and export memories from those systems, and then you could import them here. And you'll start with Claude knowing a lot more about you than starting from scratch. And here is where you can actually see memories that Claude has collected on you. So in this case, it remembers that I'm a founder CEO. I have a firm in New York. I also recently launched a company, Lifestoria, which I'm actually going to show you some of the stuff that, because Claude Cowork helped on that launch quite a bit. I like to read. I did a lot of the work on technical architecture, so on and so forth. And here is where it collects all those memories, and you could review them and actually edit those memories if you want. Kind of freaky if you think about it. Can you imagine someone going in and editing your memories? Anyway, hopefully this makes sense. You also can give it access to various things. I just let it rip. I'm very comfortable with allowing it to do many things. So that's what the capability section is. Connectors is the various connectors. So I have it connected with GitHub, which is that a programming thing, Gmail, Google Calendar, HubSpot, Notion, Slack, all these different things. Let's see, and here is where you can see various extensions that are installed, and so hopefully that all makes sense. So when you start Cowork, you see this right here, projects. You come in here, you say projects. I always like to do a new project, and you could start from scratch, Or if you were having a chat in the chat interface and you want to turn it into a project, you can import from a chat. So I'll say start from scratch here and call it
Are you looking for project ideas? In which case, I'd love to give you one.
sure, go for it.
To find investors and reach out to investors from your LinkedIn based on information in your pitch deck. I think it's a dream for every founder, right? So can you have an agent? See, we're getting love hearts already. So is that I mean, if you could do that, then
Um,
you're done, right? So
Based on pitch deck.
yeah, so it
And
analyzes your pitch deck and then goes and finds people from your LinkedIn that are in that sector. So it's a perfect example for agentic AI, right? Because you could go to ChatGPT and say, here's my pitch deck, tell me some investors, and maybe it will analyze it and maybe suggest some investors. But the agent part is now it going out. And I see the future that every morning when you wake up, it goes, hey, Anthony, I found another 5 investors for you. And these people ghosted you, but I've no problem. I'll try them again tomorrow, and so on.
absolutely, and you can upload your pitch deck just to let's make this a realistic one. So let me see, do I have a pitch deck? I have a deck on Lifestoria, which is the
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
new company that I have. So I will upload that. Let's go. And it's reviewing the presentation, which is great. And you can see its thought process. I always find this very fascinating. When you're asking it to create content, you will frequently see it creates the content, and then another agent comes in and says, slide number 5, the bullets are terrible. They need to be rewritten, and then the agent rewrites them. So it critiques itself. It's actually fascinating to see how well it works.
I've adopted the same approach with my wife actually when she says, you think of dinner, I go, well, I'm contemplating dinner. I will get back to you shortly, processing inputs, analyzing how hungry I am. It's like, shut up, you want dinner. Okay.
So while it's doing that, I mentioned Lifestoria. It's a new company. We just launched it, and the idea behind Lifestoria is really to do AI based interviews of your loved ones, your older parents or grandparents, and get a history, a biography of their life. And we built this and launched it. And Claude Cowork was an intimate partner in helping us develop all the assets for the business. So I thought it would be good. Let's take a look at. So this is a business model, okay? And if you're a founder, even if you're not a founder, if you're a CFO, um, a lot of people say there's no way it can handle my spreadsheets. My spreadsheets are too complex. I pull this up, and CFOs of companies that are worth billions of dollars look at this and say, "Oh my God, it created that." They cannot believe how good Claude is at Excel and its capabilities. This is, I'm sure, for the entrepreneurs, you guys have seen this before. So this is a subscription business. These are the subscription tiers. This is the mix. This is the churn. These are the add-on sales. I'm sure you're all familiar with this stuff. Cost of goods, fixed costs, team costs, marketing channel assumptions, um, you know, uh, your CAC, LTV, all these things, right? Influencer marketing costs. Everything you need in order to create a thriving business is here from a financial aspect, right? And this was all created by Claude Cowork. and it goes to a monthly P&L. Look at this monthly P&L. It's just incredible that it was able to create this. And this is a highly detailed. This would pass muster with any investor. In fact, investors would look at this and say, this is a fantastic spreadsheet you created.
And the question is, what is the prompt you use to create that? Did you say, I've got a 3-person company with largely a SaaS business, create a expense plan?
I basically said create a business model for Lifestoria. Here are the marketing channels we're interested in. You do research and use
Okay,
standard assumptions about all the churn rates, acquisition costs, that kind of stuff, and then it basically output this complete business model. And the
great.
business model goes out, so it goes out 36 months, so it's a 3-year plan. It gives annual summaries. And
Okay.
it gives you your marketing ROI. So, this is nirvana for I do a lot of investing as well. And so when I can see these kind of numbers,
The tragedy is the investor's going to have the inverse function that says take this business plan and tell me if the company's going or not. But anyway, so what we're going to do is now we know how much you need. You're going to plug that in and say, find me, $500,000 worth of investors.
exactly.
And then
And
when
we
you
basically did
found the
that.
investor, then connect to Seed Legal's MCP server and send a safe to them.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
now you see it's read the deck and it has
Okay.
questions. So now it's asking me a question.
Okay.
What stage of fundraising are you targeting? Do we want to do pre-seed, seed, or not raising, building a target
Let's
list?
do pre-seed.
Pre-seed.
Yeah. Angels.
Only angels? Do we want micro
No,
VCs?
just angels.
Okay.
Let's do US. Keep it simple.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and you'll see here is its plan, right?
Okay.
And so it's on step 2 now. It's researching angel investors.
So it's somehow got info from LinkedIn that it's pulled in.
Yes.
Okay. And have you connected it to your LinkedIn?
Um, I have given it access to my LinkedIn,
Okay.
but I might run into problem. The problem with LinkedIn is it's brutally anti-bot met. Um,
Right.
it has like that's an issue. There are other sites you can go to though, Seamless AI, Crunchbase, those that work much better with it. But I just want to point this out right
Okay.
here. Okay. So as an investor, as a entrepreneur, you're going to say, okay, how do I find them, right? So it's looking for consumer AI, elder tech, aging, digital health, creator economy, subscription consumer, genealogy, heritage, and these companies that are competitors to what Lifestoria does. So just looking at that list, you're like, that's phenomenal. That's a great place to start. Now you might want to add some more, and you can tell it, hey, add this as well, and it will pick it up from there. But you can imagine this is the kind of thing you would more than likely spend hours doing yourself, and it's able to automate a lot of it. Okay, now it's building the spreadsheet. Great. While it's doing that, I'll show you some other interesting things um, that it did. So, uh, so in creating Lifestoria, we wanted to create landing pages for particular personas that we want to go after. And in creating that, I asked it to first create the personas. And so it created these persona documents. So this is the persona. Um, so this is a markdown file. You'll see .md. And I've installed something called Telescopo that shows me the markdown file exactly the way you want it, Anthony, without the hashes. It shows me it the way it is. And you'll see it created an incredible persona document for this persona. Okay. And I was able to review it. I modified it a little bit, but it did the hard work of creating most of this.
That's very
Um,
clever. So for those who are not familiar with, UX research and so on, one of the big problems I see when I see people's websites is they don't have a particular customer in mind. So they want to sell to an enterprise, but they don't know who in the enterprise. Is it the finance? Is it the talent? Is it HR? And so you want to create persona and then keep these persona in mind when you design your marketing and your go-to-market and outreach and so on, because it's very different if you're reaching out to the sales team or the CEO. But coming up with these persona is quite a task, and you'd often pay brand agencies or something thousands. Now you can invent the persona in seconds. So there's a good question, Gus, for you, which is how what we're seeing right now, how does Claude Cowork differ from regular Claude? What are we seeing here that you couldn't do in regular Claude?
well, the fact that it created the file, you could do this in regular Claude. The fact that it created the documents on my hard drive, created a whole bunch of documents. It's using the personas. So I'll show you this other thing. Um, so once it created the personas, I said, great. Now, based on the personas in the personas directory, so it created all the personas. It stuck it in this directory called personas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So these are all the personas. From there, I told it to create landing pages for each persona, to create the prompts to feed into Claude Code to create the landing pages. And that's just so. Let me give
So
you.
you just heard right here the future of marketing, which is when this can be done in real time. When you go to a website, the web page you see will be custom built exactly for you based on your persona. You'll be amazed at how perfect it is for your needs because it was built for you.
And this is an example of the landing page created by Claude Code.
Right.
From the prompt. So had the persona, I said now create 3 landing pages for each persona, and it created 3 landing pages for each persona, and included it. It literally included all the copy you see here. Was Claude Cowork created most of this copy. Um, and not only did it create the copy, created the copy, the HTML, and all that. It created placeholders for the images. And then it created prompts and said, take this prompt and take it over to Google Gemini and feed it into Google Gemini. And Google Gemini created the image.
Okay. All right.
So,
So much as I'd like us to build the complete investor outreach for everyone on the call, we're about out of time.
yes.
Which additional things do you want to cover? And then I've got one question in the meantime, which is Hermes. Do you have a view on it, and can you tell people what it is?
Yes. So Hermes is a competitor it's a competitor to OpenClaw. I love Hermes. I love Hermes so much that I took down my OpenClaw. Um, I stopped using OpenClaw and I've switched exclusively to using Hermes. It's fantastic. It works a lot better than OpenClaw. It's not breaking as often. It's not quite as powerful as OpenClaw, but it's still what I would call a developer tool.
Okay. And then there's NanoClaw and a whole bunch of others
Yeah,
as well, right?
there's an
Okay.
entire ecosystem of those things. Here is your deck.
Oh,
Okay.
right. Okay. So it's found, so it's created this now.
Yeah, I just created this.
Okay. So it found these investors based on, okay, yeah, we see Ryan Hoover. I know most of these folks. All right. Great. Um, and they're very cool. And this is not people you're connected with on LinkedIn. This is just, it's analyzed the internet and found these folks.
Yes. I don't
Okay.
believe this is um so I am connected to I know Andrew
Yeah.
Ng. Um I know Elad Gill.
Okay.
I know
All right.
some of these people, but a lot of them I don't. I don't know
Okay,
anybody
all
at
right. So
AARP.
the 20 folks are roughly, it's found their LinkedIn's, and I
Yep.
guess you could conceivably say if you have connected it to LinkedIn, now write a personalized outreach message to each of them.
Well, it said he
Oh,
outreach
right.
notes. It says how to outreach to them.
Okay. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
So, and here's an outreach tracker it created so that you can track your efforts.
Do you want to do a new startup on fundraising automation? Okay.
There you
All
go.
right. Okay.
Excellent.
All right, now let's wrap up because I think folks are going to drop off very quickly.
Absolutely.
So over to you on remaining items.
I think we're good. I say let's go to Q&A and then we wrap up.
All right, do you want to tell people if you when you stop screen share, tell people a bit more about Xogito and which things, apart from sharing co-work and so on, which things you can help with build their products?
Sure. So Cogito, as I mentioned, is a firm I founded. We build products, technology products. Mostly we don't do hardware, although we write some software for hardware. Company was founded in 2008. We're about 200 strong now. We've built SaaS platforms, mobile apps. All of them have AI embedded somewhere inside. So that's one thing we do. The other thing we do is we do 24 by 7 by 365 monitoring and support for these sites. Some of our clients are fintech and healthcare, and they have strong uptime requirements. And then the third thing we do is we do a lot of advisory work. So helping CEOs and executive staffs figure out how to best leverage AI, whether or not their product strategy is on point, training their staff on how to do stuff, um, talking about the future and where things are going. So that's sort of a bit about Cogito.
All right, so thank you. Now, does anyone have any quick questions before we wrap? This is your time to come up. While you're thinking, I'm Anthony, founder at Seed Legals. So when you use this amazing tool to find investors and you need to do all the legals for it, and your cap table and more, give me a call. Delighted to help you do that on Seed Legals. All right, there's a question from Maggie. Connectors for Claude Cowork. Notice you're only connected to GitHub, not the others like Gmail. Would you recommend it's okay to connect to Gmail and others?
I am connected to
Oh,
Gmail and the
okay.
calendar and all that. It actually checks my email a couple times a day, tells me what is important and to respond to.
Okay, nice. All right. Okay. By the way, it also looked like it had access to your local drive from your screenshots, right?
Yes, does have access to my local drive to folders. So each project has a folder, and then that it has full access there.
Okay, so you just set it to folder level access, so it can't go crazy and access the rest of the drive. Okay. All right. Cool. So thank you so much, everyone. You've definitely got me inspired to go to, finally use Cowork. I've been mulling over it. So thank you, everyone. And then also for those who spotted Gus is using Claude Code, your developers should be using Claude Code. And my team tell me they're about 50% to 2x more productive. And I'll wrap up just to show you the power of Claude Code. So normally if I discover something on our Seed Legals platform that's not quite right, I'll make a Loom video, for example, to show the developers, hey, when I click this button, the wording wasn't quite as it should be. And then the product manager will file a ticket for it and so on. Anyway, about a week ago, I sent this video, and the next day, one of my devs said, I took your video, passed it into Claude Code, had it analyze the video and fix the output from your video. And I was blown away because I didn't give it instructions for Claude Code. I gave thoughts, hey team, this bit isn't right. You know, if the user selects this, I'd expect this wording. And it then came up and fixed the code. They fortunately sent it to me for review first. But I thought, this is fantastic. This is the future. I don't need a dev team. No, I didn't say that. But anyway, so thank you all very much. I hope this has been valuable. And Gus, thank you so much. And we're going to send out the recording afterwards for everyone who wants it, and with Gus's details for any Claude or other agentic AI questions. Have a great rest of day or evening for UK audience. Thanks all.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Gus.
Bye-bye.